Chick-fil-A stands among the most thriving restaurant chains in existence. Let me show you why the original location launched back in 1967. And this sounds incredible, but each year after that their revenue has exceeded the previous year's performance. We're looking at over 50 straight years of revenue increases. This led to 2019, when their nationwide system-wide revenue hit $11 billion, positioning them third behind only Starbucks and McDonald's. And here's the truly remarkable part. Chick-fil-A achieved $11 billion in revenue with just 2,500 locations. That's less than 1/5 of what those other two chains operate. Do the calculation real quick. $11 billion in revenue spread across 2,500 restaurants equals roughly $4.4 million per location. That per-store average surpasses McDonald's or Starbucks or every other restaurant chain nationwide. Seriously, Subway operated nearly 10 times as many locations, yet generated less total revenue. When you consider it, the logic becomes clear. Those Chick-fil-A locations are typically far more packed than any of those competing restaurants. And I want to explore why that's happening. Chick-fil-A operates in ways that differ significantly from competitors. So I've pinpointed 5 elements that distinguish them from the broader industry and have probably played a role in their expansion. Quick favor, if you found this video interesting, subscribing helps us cover more rise and fall stories like this. Kindly do, please. Truett Cathy was the founder, and his track record suggests he understood business quite well. His religious faith notably influenced his approach to philanthropy and his business operating principles. He led Sunday school classes for more than 50 years. He participated actively in creating scholarship programs and locating homes for children in foster care. Chick-fil-A has remained a private company partly because he believed public shareholders likely wouldn't support all this philanthropic activity. Before his passing in 2014, he created this agreement with his children stating they could divest the business, but couldn't take it public. Neither option has happened. Going back to when he was 8 years old amid the Great Depression, Truett Cathy discovered methods to generate income for his family through launching his own small ventures. He grew up in Atlanta, where the Coca-Cola company has its headquarters. So he'd purchase these 6-packs for $0.25, then work hard to sell individual bottles for a nickel. I suspect that couldn't have provided much help to his family initially, since he earned less than a penny per transaction, but it expanded and transformed into other modest endeavors. All of those stopped when he departed to serve in the military during World War II. His brother Ben Cathy served as well. Shortly after their return in 1946, they entered the restaurant business. They liquidated some assets and pooled all their funds together, reaching $4,000, and secured an additional $6,000 loan from a bank. They used those funds to launch a small diner outside Atlanta, near a Ford manufacturing facility, where they hoped to attract some regular customers from the employees there. And I mean it when I describe it as small. It featured 4 tables with chairs and 10 counter stools, and that was everything. To acknowledge that compact size, they named it the Dwarf Grill, which later became the Dwarf House. It stayed open 24 hours daily, and when you pair that with their approach of direct hands-on leadership, it created a demanding schedule. One brother would work a 12-hour shift, then be replaced when the other brother arrived to work his 12-hour shift. You probably know that Chick-fil-A has consistently remained closed on Sundays, which incidentally makes all those revenue figures from earlier even more remarkable. They're outperforming Subway, not only with fewer locations, but with one less operating day per week. Religious convictions have clearly influenced that decision, but Truett Cathy emphasized that the policy originated back then, so he and everyone else could simply take a break from that intense schedule. After just 3 years of operating that business together, Ben tragically perished in a plane crash along with a third Cathy brother named Horace. Ben's share of the Dwarf House transferred to his wife, and then to Truett after he purchased it from her 1 year later. Some devastating events occurred there, but it resulted in Truett managing the business independently as the sole owner. From there, he grew to a second location that didn't succeed very well because it was destroyed in a fire in 1960, but it actually proved beneficial because it helped spark the creation of Chick-fil-A. My second element behind their success is none other than that renowned Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Have you tried one of these things? Absolutely delicious. It was invented by Truett Cathy himself, and I'm uncertain how accurate this is, but according to the company, that was the very first chicken sandwich. As they prefer to say, "We didn't invent the chicken, just a chicken sandwich." Even if you question that and doubt they were the first, they were undoubtedly instrumental in making it popular. After that fire, the insurance settlement didn't materialize quite as he had anticipated, so he was reduced to that one original location, attempting to compensate for those missing sales by refreshing the menu. Then in 1961, he arranged a deal with a chicken supplier. It happened that they had recently completed this order for an airline to prepare all of this boneless, skinless chicken breast. But one of the specifications for that order was that the pieces needed to be small enough to fit into these little plastic trays that passengers would use for eating. So they ended up with some pieces that were too large. They didn't fit, so they were attempting to sell them to Truett, and I'm guessing at a reduced price. He capitalized on that opportunity and immediately began testing different methods to serve it. He determined that a pressure cooker would prepare it faster. Using more costly peanut oil enhanced the flavor. He decided to serve it as a sandwich, partly so people wouldn't need to get all messy from handling the chicken. According to Chick-fil-A, that recipe he finalized back then is precisely how they prepare it today. When naming it, he discovered that he couldn't trademark the words chicken fillet, but he could if he rearranged the letters slightly and called it Chick-fil-A. That delicious recipe, innovative concept, and memorable name helped it become the major new menu item over at the Dwarf House initially. He licensed that sandwich for sale at other restaurants, but then in 1967 determined that he should launch his own restaurant that focused on it. The first actual Chick-fil-A restaurant opened at the Greenbrier Mall in Atlanta, Georgia. Slow expansion with minimal to no debt. In the 1970s, Truett Cathy announced that new restaurants would launch mostly using their own profits, a strategy that was supported by their other strategy of exclusively opening restaurants in shopping malls. They operated for nearly 20 years before they had any standalone locations. The ones in malls tend to be smaller and less expensive, so they need less capital to open. Chick-fil-A was among the pioneering restaurants to employ the mall strategy in the 1960s. And then by the 1980s, when it became more competitive, they were large enough to successfully expand using standalone locations, which rapidly became the majority of them. Friendly employees and customer service. If you know of a restaurant with a more welcoming atmosphere than Chick-fil-A, I'd love to hear it, because it's almost unusual how friendly they are there. You may have observed this, but they're trained to not say you're welcome, but instead to say my pleasure. That phrase and the overall positive demeanor were stressed by Truett Cathy himself to a degree where it's become part of their identity. It's quite simple. Customers want to be in that atmosphere, so they keep returning, leading to high revenue in crowded restaurants. Those employees manage to stay so upbeat partly because they seem to be content to work there. They receive uncommon benefits like scholarship opportunities, and compared to the rest of the industry, they retain their jobs much longer. It's historically been about a 50 to 60% turnover rate for hourly employees compared to an industry average of well over 100. But another potentially underestimated factor here would be the attentive and qualified management, ensuring that they sustain that friendliness. Chick-fil-A is remarkably selective when determining who operates these restaurants. Because Chick-fil-A has dedicated over 50 years to the slow and steady approach, they've consistently been able to be more discriminating. And in fact, they handle the entire thing differently. If you want to open a franchise of virtually any of these fast food restaurants, you essentially have to be wealthy to even be considered. You have to be prepared to pay tens of thousands of dollars and have an overall net worth of hundreds of thousands of dollars. For example, for McDonald's, it's an initial fee of $45,000 and a net worth of $500,000. Statistically, most people can't afford that. But for Chick-fil-A, they don't even consider your net worth, and they only charge $10,000. Those lower financial barriers provide them a large pool of people attempting to do it. They say it's something like 60,000 applications every year, but clearly they don't open 60,000 locations annually. In the end, they accept fewer than 100 of them. That is an acceptance rate of below 0.17%, one of the lowest you'll ever encounter for any application. They eliminate thousands of people with interviews and essays, and by the conclusion of it, they end up with some pretty exceptional people. And they want them to be truly hands-on and present in the daily activities as well, so they can ensure that the restaurant is clean and the employees are friendly to the customers. The company attempts to ensure this by rejecting anyone who seems to be seeking what they would consider a passive investment, but also by not permitting them to manage more than 1 or 2 locations. And I use that word manage instead of own, because unlike most franchisees, they don't have any actual ownership in those locations. Chick-fil-A pays for them and maintains ownership, which is why they're required to have a lower financial investment. It's a different system with advantages and disadvantages on both sides, but it's proven to result in more passionate and engaged managers, which in turn seems to result in better maintained restaurants. When examining my list, these 2 elements stand out. They are connected to each other and make me believe that Chick-fil-A has constructed a solid, well-maintained company. Chick-fil-A is clearly an extremely religious organization, and it has received a considerable amount of backlash over their position toward the gay community. The controversies center around statements made opposing gay marriage in 2012 by Cathy, who is the son of Truett Cathy and the company's current CEO, in addition to the fact that their charitable organization has donated substantially to charities that hold anti-LGBTQ positions, mainly the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the Salvation Army. Likely due to this backlash, they have since avoided speaking out against gay marriage, and it appears that they have ceased donating to those particular charities. It is an extremely sensitive subject. Those are just the basic facts of it, so I encourage everyone to research further into it and develop your own opinions. But I will say, considering this has caused such a negative impact on their reputation, it has surprisingly not harmed their business in any significant way. I would say that helps demonstrate just how strong they are and how improbable it is that they will be failing anytime soon. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about Chick-fil-A? Do they in fact have the best chicken sandwich around? Or does that title go to Popeyes or one of the others? Whether or not you like the food or the company themselves, you can't deny their success. So do you agree with my elements behind it? Or are there others that I failed to mention? In your opinion, what makes Chick-fil-A one of the busiest, most successful restaurants in the country? And any other thoughts you have about them, leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you for watching.